Welcome to It's Open with Ilana Glazer. I am I'm glowing from the episode we just recorded. So today's incredibly special guest is an award-winning actress, comedian, and two-time RuPaul's Drag Race winner, the only one of her kind at this point. She is a genuine Broadway star with critically acclaimed performances as Mama Morton in Chicago and most recently as Mary Todd Lincoln in the Tony-winning phenomenon Oh Mary, where she sold out her entire run. And they asked her back, and it's about to close February 1st, so you get your ass there if you've missed it. She also appeared as the villain in Maestro in Doctor Who and continues to tour with the beloved Jinkx and De La holiday show. And next will play her first dramatic role as Judy Garland in a special London revival of the play End of the Rainbow. Oh my God. She brings brilliance, intellect, humor, and heart to every stage she steps on. Please welcome the queen of all queens to It's Open, Jinkx Monsoon.
Thank you for having me, Ilana. I have to get this out of the way. I've seen every episode of Broad City, as I've told you a couple times, but imagine my shock and surprise when y'all end up at a drag brunch with Alan Cumming and the poster is a picture of me. I was like, so of course I got to tell everyone I'm in an episode of Broad City.
Yeah.
You really changed a lot of people's just everything with that show. Like, it's like such a common language between me and so many people because it's such a unique thing. How do you feel about that show?
Pretty good. I feel so like, it's just like, I'm so proud of it and I get so emotional, and it's common language is such a great way of putting it. I feel the same way, as almost a consumer of it, although I haven't watched it since it aired, and I don't think Abby has either.
I can never. I watch everything once.
Same.
And then I put it away.
Yep.
And then it's for everyone else.
Yeah,
you know?
it's in my like DNA in that common language sense, and well, it's just it's just feels like a a continual miracle to meet people like you who I respect and admire and get so much from in my own like life force, and then for you to say that it gave you life force, it's this like human miracle. It's this human magic miracle that keeps feeding itself.
So it feels like a continual miracle because I don't know, we're the exact same age. Did you always want to be a performer? Did you just always?
Always.
Know? Right. And so you grow up and you're absorbing the things you watch because in the back of your head, you're thinking, one day I'm going to do that. And you're telling yourself, maybe it won't happen, but you know it's going to happen, right? Yeah. There's like a renaissance of funny people right now in our age group. And we're getting welcomed in by the generation before us. And every day it blows my mind. I'm friends with Hari Neff, who's another trans actress. And I told her that seeing her succeed as a trans woman and an actress made me feel like I think I'm ready to transition because I was always so scared that I'd have to decide between being a trans woman or an actor. And I couldn't give up my life as an actor, and I didn't know what my life as an actor would be like if I transitioned. And she showed me a path of like, it can be everything you want. And then I got to say this to her. And then she tells me watching me when she was in college was one of the things that inspired her to come out as non-binary, which led to her whole gender journey, and it's like we have these effects on each other with no idea that we're doing it. And the chance to get to say it like face to face is like such a miracle of life.
Miracle of life, like reason to live and believe in this world.
Absolutely.
We need those fucking reasons. And Jinkx, when you like showed up on Drag Race, it was you're so potent and you broke through as an incredible performer, but as a really incisively smart person. Incisively.
I don't
May I
think
go
of
on?
Yeah. I just don't think of myself as a smart person, but go for it. Yeah.
Like, you know, the precision with which you could make fun of a situation was turning it around in such a way that invited people to not be alone in that situation.
One of my favorite theater teachers talked about this, that reflex, and it's childhood trauma. It's like, it's just the reflex of tension in the room. I know what to do.
Yep.
Diddly-do-do-do.
Yep.
Tension in the room. Make a joke about it. Like, what's the one thing no one wants to talk about? I'll talk about it, and then we'll all laugh it off. And then, you know, like, I grew up in a very, very loving environment, and also very volatile and very, like, unpredictable. And I grew up around a lot of addiction. And so I just feel like I was always able to see what was going on around me, and always really like, okay, I'm going to have to be the one to fix it. Because if I don't,
Yep.
like, who else is paying as much attention as me?
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe it's the ADHD.
Probably part of your superpower.
Yeah.
It is. That makes sense then why you are sober.
Yeah. I went through, I mean, I still smoke weed like a chimney, but I'm sober from alcohol because first straight edge all through high school,
Copy
all
that.
through
I was
college.
straight edge too.
Yeah.
In high school. Like, and like was in a club for it.
It wasn't until after college I started working in nightlife, and I started dabbling with, like, you know, having a shot before the show, and
Yeah.
ooh, I feel even less, you know, and then convincing myself that's part of being
Yeah.
a nightclub before. I was very much Abby at the
Val.
Val about town is a town about Val. You know, like
Right.
that's
So
I
yes.
loved being that person, and I
Yeah.
worked in piano bars, so I thought it was all part of it.
Right.
But then it's like, when I wanted to take that step into serious acting, you know, you've done Broadway, 8 shows a week. There's no time to be an alcoholic.
No. It's like exhausting. And at a certain age, alcohol, like just it's diminishing returns.
Yeah,
it takes so
absolutely.
much more than it gives back. I remember that too in my early days of comedy, like drinking and being like, just loosening up. And it's like, yeah, this is making the performance worse, you know?
Yeah. RuPaul said it to me that we develop the addiction because it does work at some point.
Yeah.
And then we start relying on it, and then it stops being the thing that helped and starts being like something we need. And then it's like, look at what you're objectively saying. You need to get drunk at work
Right.
to be able to do your job.
Yeah.
Let's question that. You know?
His the drugs that he used to do and the amount are incredible.
Club Pyramid, it just
Yeah.
sounds like everyone was just walking around. You know, can you imagine?
But there's something so quaint about it too back then that's like so sweet. Like nobody's like capturing it on a phone, and it's not to prove something. There's just something like actually like, I don't know, pure about it in my mind.
Okay, so I'm thinking about right now. More people are like saying yes and feeling spontaneous right now because what have I got to lose, you know? And I have to think about, like, you know, queer people, when we lived in the shadows, when we lived on like fully on the margins, when we could only meet in underground seedy places, it was like, why not just get fucked up and have fun? Like, they've already condemned us to hell. Why not make hell a fun place, you know? So, and I kind of feel like the numbers are growing of people who are being condemned to hell and trying to make the most of it right now. You know, it's not just queer people anymore.
That's
And it
right.
never was just queer people, but it's like through the years, and some of it's Drag Race, straight people have started embracing the queer lifestyle because they're like, oh, that's just smart.
It's
That's
just human.
That's just like the better way to do things
Yeah.
sometimes, you
Yeah.
know, in some cases. You
It's
know?
just more human. And like the heteronormative narrative is just more restrictive on anybody's humanity. Whereas the queer lifestyle, if you're not if you're not subject to the script and handed this fucking script to read, then you actually are free to write your own, which every single person wants to do.
Yeah, and the gender stuff too. It's like it's just as well heteronormative includes, typical feminine, masculine dynamics and all the stuff that we fought hard to get rid of, and then now are just like, we fought hard to get rid of it so we could still acknowledge it constantly.
Yeah.
And say, it's a choice now.
Like I've talked about this with like Gen Z. I'm thinking about like a Gen Z straight dude who I really love and respect. And he was talking about like, the left over articulating identity, like you're saying. And I'm like, I totally get what you're saying, but, and it is annoying or whatever. And Democrats like, will use it to their advantage and then avoid it when it's like not convenient for them. But when people call your identity, name your identity, but use it as a slur, then you have to claim it and name it. Jew, queer, Black, Mexican. Well, if you're saying it as a slur, I have to say it proudly so that you know that it's not your slur.
Absolutely.
But it's fucking annoying. Like we're backed into a corner to, nobody wants to be like, I'm a neurodivergent, Jewish, non-binary. It's like nobody wants to do this, but we're like forced to. And it's, what you're pointing out though, is that there's like another fucking way.
Well, I believe, and I think we all can see how it happens, but the pendulum swings. And so we have to go to each extreme to find where we land.
Yep.
And I hate that part of the progress is going to the horrible extreme. I feel like we're at this big moment of like that pendulum is swinging full direction in that way so that everyone can see this is not what you want. Like, this is what you have been told you want. Let's live in it for a while and see how much we want this, and I think people are realizing quickly they don't actually want that.
That's right. That's right. And it dehumanizes everybody. Dehumanizing one group dehumanizes everybody. And it's like so crazy. I don't know where people's fucking empathy has gone. And when you were saying that like the older generation is accepting us and we 38-year-olds are like finding our voice in the cultural landscape, it's like also because we are adults and like finally able to claim being adults. And we're so therapied that we've been talking about our flaws and acknowledging them. Like there's just been this fake script for so long. Even the addiction narrative of being like, this like secret addict and then breaking down and it's like, I've ruined everything and then cleaning up completely. Like I feel like our generation, the lines are like softer about it. We don't have to pendulum swing so hard.
I mean, we grew up watching that narrative over and over and over. Like we grew up with Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton and anyone else, Britney Spears, right? And we were force-fed that narrative and the way to do it correctly if you end up doing it, I don't know. I like having the idea of wanting to be a public personality. I'm constantly shaping who that person is going to be in my head. And I didn't predict addict as part of it. I wanted that not to be a part of it, but it worked its way in there. But the more I talk openly about who I am, the more people come to me because I talked openly about that. Like I thought talking about witchcraft and being a practicing witch would be one step too far, like TMI, or who's going to want to hear about this kind of stuff, or they're going to think I sound like a lunatic. And now witches
100.
come to Broadway shows
100.
and say, blessed be, and thank you for talking about we're out there. And even your episode of the witches out there, it was like, I'm not alone in this. Like, witches have always existed. Why the fuck are we pretending we don't?
Right. You're making me like, just like, it's like lighting up my witchness. My daughter, we play witches all the time. And like, we collect sticks and it's just like, and I have this like character where I'm a witch and I love it. And she loves it. We've just like, damn. And I've also been like praying a lot more lately, but I'm also like starting to hear what you're saying about the witchcraft.
Yeah. Well, like I was raised loosely Catholic. We found out we had Jewish heritage at one point. I explored that. And then I was kind of like, I don't think I believe in any religion. And I, pretty early on in my adulthood, like I was the kind of person who, just in case, I'm still going to do all the Catholic stuff or,
Totally.
or whatever I've
Totally.
learned. Just at some point, I became disinterested with organized religion and very interested in the idea of witchcraft. You form a coven, but it's also like you are your own temple. You're your own priest. You carve your own path. Every witch finds her own skills and traits and the things she focuses on. It's like drag, honestly. It's like you've got your green witches and your kitchen witches and your death witches and divination witches, and it's just like comedy, ballroom, fashion.
Is hitting me. Go on.
Yeah.
This is hitting me.
Yeah, I love it. I don't know. It's always made me, and now that I learn the history of witches in different cultures, it's just like being an actor, it feels like plugging into something that's existed for a long time before me, and I'm just getting to lay my bricks down in it. It feels simultaneously like a cosmic calling, and it's humbling because it reminds you that you're part of something bigger. You're like part of a tapestry.
Like, okay, fuck. This is just resonating within me so hard.
And you can still be a practicing whatever and a witch.
Oh, and like also like I did a comedy show last night. It was like so bad. The night before I did 2 shows, they were so good. And like at both shows, honestly, I'm like, this is my faith house. You know what I mean? This is where I like meet with my community, talk, reach out to the wider community, but meet with my coven.
Yeah.
Connect to the community. And then also like my Judaism has fluctuated and also grown in the last, as I've become an adult and since COVID too, I've like needed it. But like, I don't know, just what you're painting for me today. I think I might be ready to like enter my witch era.
Well, I really think I'm disinterested with organized religion for a bevy of reasons, but I'm not disinterested with us having faith. And I'm
That's
like,
right.
like
Me
you
too.
said, I like to find out the logic behind everything. I like to figure out the logic of why something works and then forget it and just make the choice that no,
Right.
it's the crystal. I know it's this big metaphysical blah 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 blah, and the crystal's triggering my brain to trigger this part of my body to trigger this or this chemical release of blah blah blah, right? But I just make the more fun choice,
Right. Right.
And it's made life that much more fun.
And I think this is just something about that I'm like, that's hitting me about millennials. Millennials like choosing and claiming our faith is something that has been feeling so adult in the last few years. And I do think it's been like COVID, these like life or death fucking times that I've just been hearing about it more. And also Rami and his show comes up, like really seeing a Muslim American, millennial American claim his religion. And Broad City. I mean, we were so Jewish,
Very,
and Jewy.
very Jewish.
And
yes.
like and also like, I don't know, seeing millennials who are Christian but not white nationalist Christians, but truly Christians.
Yeah.
It's been so
'Cause it's
inspiring.
like, I have no problem with people who practice Christianity. I've known Christians my whole life, right? But now they've colored this word, and that's the whole thing about organized religion.
Right.
It's like whenever the person at the top decides something, then that religion becomes that. And
Right.
who would want to let someone completely removed from their life tell them that now because the smoke went this way, we all believe this,
Right.
Right. And you're like, but I've believed this my whole life because it aligned with blah, blah, blah. It's like my mother was a devout Catholic when I was a child, and just the circumstances of life, she still considers herself a Catholic, but I can't remember the last time she's done anything Catholic-y,
The crazy thing was when the church was like exposed for its pedophilia and then nothing really
just
happened. Like that was so
Well, it
crazy.
felt crazy until Apparently, that's the MO.
Yeah.
It's just to do nothing.
Yeah, that's the MO. It's
Even when we uncover it, it's like, okay, so we're just going to talk about it for a long time. I don't protect the lengths men will go to protect other men. I mean, we're just seeing it in such a blatant way.
It's so disgusting. I think we need to bring back that word and that emotion. It like kind of feels gross to say and like be in, but I'm like, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Men protecting other men for trafficking children. And then, of course, I mean, so pertinent to what we're talking about today, to blame grooming and pedophilia on queer people and drag queens. It's such a sick joke and shows the stones that you're throwing are because you caused it.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy, which is like part of the intention. And also it is just so disgusting. It's been really hard to contend with these Epstein files coming out and coming out and coming out and nothing happening about it.
And then and everything keeps turning and they keep doing stuff. And it's like, why would we let them continue to do anything if we knew this about them? Obviously, they're not good people. And so, yeah, it's really maddening. And the way I kind of keep myself sane is deciding when to look at it.
Yes. Yes.
I delete Instagram from my phone, and if I know I've got to check in on messages or whatever, I re-download it for an hour and then delete it again. So I'm not constantly like in every gap in my day getting another bad alert, right?
Because it's so cloying at our addictive tendencies, and I've been struggling with that in the last week. I had some really good boundaries around it and like was barely even using it. Those boundaries made me realize like, oh, I don't even want this.
Yeah.
And then, but sometimes I get lured and it drives me insane.
I'm right there with you. I re-downloaded it to see everyone's Halloween costumes this year. And then 2 months of just like, and I was on tour, so it was so easy to just like fill a couple hours.
I'm lonely. This'll help. It's like makes you so much lonelier on tour.
And sometimes, it's fun. And then sometimes I'm in a fucking horrible mood for the rest of the day.
That's right.
Everyone's like, why are you upset? And I'm like, because I saw something that made me upset.
Yeah, yeah.
And so trying to decide, I don't know. I think this is a half-baked theory.
I love it.
So you're getting my first public.
We're stoners, so half-baked is pretty much the goal.
Okay. I think we're heading to some kind of not steampunk the way it looks in TV, but our own version of steampunk.
Fucking girl.
Because they are making it impossible to use the technology without participating in something we don't want to participate in.
100.
I'm like literally at the point where I'm so frustrated so I delete my Spotify account because of the ICE ads. And then it's like I move to a different app. And then it's like, oh, this app is blah, blah, blah. And then I move to a different. And I'm like, what's the way to not participate? Buy CDs.
Yeah.
Like,
100.
oh my God, we got to go back to fucking just buying it from the artist in some way.
100.
And I think the fact that we're seeing phones that are just like purpurposefully dumb phones.
Yeah, 100.
Is
100.
that people have been overloaded with this shit and they've realized the only way to regain control is to just get it the fuck out and redevelop your relationship with it. It's like, we know the technology's there.
Yeah.
We know it's not going anywhere, but we need to decide how much we want to interact with it.
I'm so with you. And when we were like teenagers, late teenagers, and steampunk was happening, there were these like movements, and also the fucking 2008 housing crisis and recession and steampunk and Occupy Wall Street. It was all these like first whiffs to then get us here into this like totally to the 10th
so
power.
That we could understand.
Yeah.
When we're at this moment again.
Right.
We can better understand, last time we were here, this is how we, and it fucking sucks that history has to repeat itself, because it feels like half of us are looking at the past and saying, let's not repeat this. And then half of us are looking at the past and saying, there's no way we're repeating it. It's so different.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, on paper it's objectively the same.
Yeah.
You know?
It's also like, you know, the way that we like keep voting is like a third, a third, and a third. A third vote left, a third vote right, a third don't fucking vote.
Yeah.
Like what is, you know, and the two-party system, people are like, we need like some other system. But I'm like, the two-party system is already the 3 option. I don't know.
Again, we're in the pendulum so far this way, and everyone is realizing just how much this stuff doesn't work.
Yeah.
I fought hoof and nail before the election to prevent this outcome, and I knew there was no perfect outcome, and I knew that it was a really divisive topic to even like pick a side, any side, because the whole thing's fucked, right? But as soon as that went that way, then I said, Operation Burn It All Down. It's like I tried to work within the system, and now we are going to live under a system.
Yeah.
But here we are, and when I zoom in locally, it's like I see theater thriving. I see musicians and artists thriving. We're going back to real instruments. We're going back to live entertainment. Because there's no other way to not participate.
Right. That's right. And also... Okay, so Jinkx, speaking of theater thriving, so your first run at O'Mary was sold out for 8 weeks, which hadn't happened since Cole had been at the play. Not to rank people, but I'm just saying it was sold out. And then they asked you back for 4 weeks, and your 4-week run is about to end on February 1st.
I never care about the numbers other than when the numbers are good, I'm like, okay, the producers have to see that it works, you know? Part of why the older generation is welcoming in the young people is because you had a completely unique take on things. And now it cannot be denied that the audiences want to see that authentic take on things. Right. You know, like Cole's show being the queerest, filthiest thing and also the most celebrated comedy on Broadway this year. It's like you can't deny that we know how to speak to our audience.
That's right.
You can't deny that your formula of what sells is not really working anymore.
Does not work. When I saw you the other night in O'Mary, you were sparkling. You were the light itself emanating onto the audience, and we were just dying.
What I have found is that thing that calls in all the different people. It's not the jokes. It's like the reason why anything resonates with people is because it's honest.
That's right.
Like
that's right.
I think when it's like honest and earnest and you find a way to tell the truth and be very vulnerable and honest, that's when it's like an art form, a craft, a way of like communicating in a very specific way. And I don't think all performance is like this, and I don't think it all has to be. You can also just be entertained, right? But the reason why you go to live theater or the reason why you see something like this is, one, it's like filthy and hilarious, but that's just to get you loose and feeling good so that you can take in the message of, look at what we do to women, look at what people do when it's life or death circumstances. And I just find you do stand-up specials, so it's like you can joke about what you find funny and they can have no idea what you're talking about, but they know that you actually find this funny, and so they'll go on the whole story with you. I only have like one stand-up special, but I'm like, the moments I'm most proud of are the moments I'm like, I can tell they don't have any idea what I'm talking about, but they're still laughing because you're telling the story.
Connected to it. I only have 2, so we're not that different.
I'll tie you soon.
You're also like making me realize that Mary is such a cunt in this play the whole time, but what we're leading to, what the peak is the audition when she is vulnerable. So it's like, that is always like, in Cole's performance and in yours, it just arrested me both times where I'm like, fuck, this person has actually been hurting. That's when it gets so real. This person has been hurting, and this is why she has been such a like raving bitch at everybody. And it's so funny to watch. And it's so funny to see a woman misbehave in this way, centered around her desires and her whims. But then the audition becomes like, it gets so real so fast. It's wild. You were phenomenal in it.
Well, thank you. Cole really wrote something very, very special. And I know it's going to have a long life, but I hope it continues to have a long, long life because, like, you should play Mary. I met Maya Rudolph last night. We were all saying, like, when are you going to play Mary? And it's because she is written in such a way that, yes, she's a crazy cunt. And yes, there's a lot of fun material to work with. But all of that's decoration for a really earnest and honest story that Cole wrote from their perspective that I can relate to so hard that people are always like, it's like it was written for you. But then I saw it, with Titus, and I'm like, it could have been written for Titus, know? It's about really locking in with your personal way you connect to Mary. Like, for me, it was easy. I was an alcoholic and a niche cabaret legend. It's like, it's very easy for me to remember what it felt like to just feel stuck, and bored because you have more to offer than what you're being allowed to offer. And so those are my things that I relate to, but I'm sure it's different for every Mary.
Sorry to call her a cunt so brashly.
No, I love calling her a cunt.
I know, but you've spent like real time with her and she's like a person to you, but I was like shocked. I was like,
she's
damn,
a cunt
this
because
bitch
she
is
has
a
to
cunt.
Be.
Yeah.
And because she gets to be, because she's at the top of the food chain.
Right.
I don't think I've ever played such a high status character.
Yeah.
Even Mama Morton has men above her, but like Mary, the only person above her is Abe, and he's got a tenuous grasp on her.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
I made my Broadway debut in Chicago, and it's like opening nights always get in my head, and trying to be perfect and all this stuff. And then the actors in Chicago, especially the people who've been doing the roles they've played for 22 to 25 years or however long, they are just so comfortable and at ease in their craft that they like welcomed me in to play with them in that way. So it was like after a couple of weeks, once the lines were in and I was really confident, then I could really just like we would be present with each other and no two scenes were the same from night to night. And it just became this really like electric living thing that now I'm excited to do.
Yes.
And so like I say to myself all the time, you already opened a show on Broadway.
Right.
This can't be any harder than that.
Yeah.
You already won Drag Race twice. It can't be any harder than
You're
that.
the only queen to have
For now,
twice.
I know it's good. I'm really enjoying the time while there's not another double winner because
you're the only person who's won Drag Race twice.
Yeah.
For now.
For now. I challenge another queen.
I love it. It's an invitation that I love. And the way that you're talking about Chicago, like it's reminding me like the meaning that you make with your like minion or your coven of creatives that you're working with. Like the meaning to make of like, we're doing the same words and the same blocking, but it's different tonight because it's tonight. Like that was just such a beautiful lesson and like spiritual practice as an actor.
I was so in the mindset of the goal is to rehearse until you have the perfect version of everything. And, doing stand-up, you can change an inflection. You can change the timing and the delivery, and it changes the laugh and the response entirely. So in my mind, I thought it was all about getting the perfect performance, locking it in, and then that's your performance every single time.
Right.
And it's like, that's what you do first. And then once you have that performance, then you let it all go.
Yeah.
And it's all just about being with whoever your scene partner is. And you get everything from the scene partner. And it's so different from TV and film because Kumail and I talked about this. With TV and film, we're going to reset and get her shot. So it's like you're present for your scenes when all the cameras are on you, and then the cameras reshift, and then maybe you're like a little checked out this time because the cameras aren't on you.
Yeah.
When you're live on stage, the cameras are on everyone all the time.
Yeah.
So you can't check out. And it means like when you have a good scene partner, you two on stage can just go any fucking where, even though you're saying the same lines.
Yeah. You're bringing up for me what we've talked about before, which is like creative relationships and how their proximity to romantic relationships. And you have a special creative relationship with Ben de la Creme.
Yeah. And we reference Broad City all the time, not because our stuff is anything like yours, but because we saw in your show female friendship being celebrated rather than female rivalry.
Yeah.
So for the first 3 years, we've now toured this show. We've written a brand new show every year for 8 years. And the 1 year we couldn't go on tour, we did the film.
Wow.
And the first 3 were very much Jinkx hates Christmas, Dela loves Christmas, and they came together to do a variety show and hilarity ensues. And there would be some kind of extenuating circumstance like Dela's dead grandma is talking to her through an eggnog or...
Hysterical. That's funny.
And then year 4, we wrote a show that was just fully Jinkx versus Dela, where we even like have a fight, and in Act 2 we like start putting on competing shows on like splitting the stage down the middle and like and it got the audiences like into this like go Jinkx, kill Dela, you know, or like no fuck Jinkx, we love Dela.
Wow.
It was like, wait a second. We're friends. This is just supposed to be a joke. We don't want you actually rooting for us to hate each other. We want you to be excited when we end up together at the end.
Yep.
And it was encouraging our audience to pick sides.
Copy that. Yep.
And then
To pit women against each other.
Yeah.
Which you didn't want.
Following year, we make it Jinkx and Dela versus something else. And that's been the like we threw out the old formula, and now we say every year, we don't know what the show's going to be, but it's going to be Jinkx and Dela versus something
The world.
else.
Yeah.
And it's just so nice when you don't have to have your defenses up around your best fucking friend, you know?
What about Dela is, what keeps your relationship continuing to grow? I mean, I hear that you guys are open for change. You know what I mean? Like, so that's like, to me, the number one.
We make we say we make the choice over and over to keep doing this. You know, we have our own like private plans of how long we want to do the holiday tour and what we might do if we moved on to a different project and stuff. But basically every year it's like, you want to do it again? Yeah, let's do it again, because we both have our own solo careers, and we never want one of us to stand in the way of the other one doing their thing.
Yeah.
The holiday show is our way of just really it's our message we want to give to our community that year as a response to what the fuck we just lived through. And it started with the post-COVID year of like really like the show's plot became about processing collective trauma. And unfortunately, every year there's new collective trauma to process. So we've got plenty of material to work with. But it's so much nicer when it's Jinkx and Dela trying to fix this problem together, because that's what we want our audience to then turn around and try to do.
Yep. You and I were talking the other day about marriage. I'm married. You were married. And how this mirrors creative relationships.
What I've learned as an adult is there's lots of different kinds of love, and almost none of it looks like what we were told it was going to look like, right? I think I grew up with this idea that the whole goal is to meet the one person who is everything.
Yeah.
They're your best friend, they're your lover, and if you have this one person, you need absolutely nothing else in life. And it turns out putting that kind of pressure on another human being isn't good for anyone involved.
Yeah.
Like, I was continually disappointed in my partners, and I continually felt like they were expecting way too much of me, because it's like that's way too much to expect of any one person.
Right.
So now we're embracing the idea that, like, every relationship should be defined by the two people in the relationship. And whatever they decide works. But this pisses people off because I think they're like, why don't I get to do that?
Right.
And the thing is, you do.
That's right. That's right. And this goes back to us talking about like the queer way of living, of just not accepting the script. This is something that RuPaul talks about like really elegantly, about this script in life that is just a farce. And when you throw it out the window, you are so free and life is so funny. And it's so true. These people who are like mad about it, it's like, sorry, you have to look inward for 1 second. And then you will see that these options of, a diverse array of options are also available to you. And I'm just a proud millennial. I love that millennials like talk about this. I think it's like our parents' generation had the nuclear family thrust upon them. And I don't know about you, but on the suburbs of Long Island, on a 1/4-acre plot of land, it was so isolating. Even though I grew up in a safe, loving and funny home, it was still isolating to be there and to be like, just siloed in this little house.
Because when you grow, like, it's the queer experience, it's the oddball experience, it's anything. As soon as you realize you don't fit the mold, then you are just either lying or accepting that the world isn't built for you. And so it's like, as soon as I realized I was queer, which was a very early age, in my family, like when I came out as queer, when I came out as trans, it was like they were all waiting for me to catch up, right? Like so they were all like, we know about everything constantly.
I love that. That's so sweet.
And it wasn't always perfect, but I had a very loving family. But they also were very real with me about like, this is how it is here at our house with us, and you have to know that it's not like that everywhere out there. And they were constantly real with me of like, we want you to wear that clothing if you want to wear it, but you have to understand that it will attract this attention. And so it's like, you make the choice. Am I going to let this ruin the rest of my life or not?
Right.
And so when you're young and you're starting to realize the ways you don't fit, of course it's isolating. Even if you're as soon as you realize the life that you see is not going to work for you, then you're like, I'm alone.
I can't unsee this. And it's both freeing, and it's like, for thinking about young people who like are not in a place where they feel they can be themselves. It's like, even though it's hard to feel so alone in that situation, like you kind of always have the sense that there's a cool fucking tribe waiting for you somewhere, and you're gonna find them. But those years are painful. I kind of felt like alone starting in that way at like 7. And I knew it was the arts and comedy and writing and performing in queer spaces and diverse spaces waiting for me. And I knew it was New York City. And it's like painful, but it's this really delayed gratification that pays off and feels so good. If you can stick saying this to the youths, if you can stick to your guns, if you can stay true to yourself, you are going to make it out on the other side.
Well, and from two people, and like we mentioned Cole, like everything takes so much more time than it looks.
Right. That's right.
Like people sometimes think it's about like you come up with a good idea and then you pitch it and everything opens. It's actually, you come up with a good idea, you advocate for yourself for a solid decade, and then someone finally realizes you were saying everything correctly the whole time.
That's
like
exactly
that you knew exactly
correct.
What you were doing,
Exactly
and we
correct.
need to throw money at it
That's
so
exactly
that it can
correct.
get bigger.
And it like rarely changes. It remains that way. And that becomes the spiritual practice. Believing in yourself, staying true to yourself, and just staying on message for yourself and your audience. When you're talking about, I want to wear these clothes, and your family being like, okay, let's talk about context. We were talking the other day about being a woman walking down the street, and how it's, I'm laughing because it sucks so bad.
It does.
It sucks because it's inherently dangerous. It's inherently dangerous. I'm like, the other night I was driving home. I did a set or a couple sets, and I'm driving home, and I see a woman jogging against traffic on a busy Brooklyn, not even a street, like a road. And I was like, yeah, you are safer driving against traffic than on the sidewalk. And then I park my car, I get out, I'm creeped out, and I walk home in the street, not on the sidewalk, because as a woman, it's safer to walk among giant vehicles, heavy machinery.
Yeah. So there's all of that when you're walking down the street as a trans woman. And then also what's going to happen if they can tell that I'm a trans woman, and is that going to matter? Right? Like, and then it's like, sometimes I'll hear cat calls and I'm like, I better keep myself as small and anonymous as possible, because even though they decided to cat call me, if they had a problem with the fact that I'm trans, it becomes my fault.
Yeah. Right.
Because I tricked them or something,
Fuck.
you know, that whole rhetoric that still persists. And so I'm not trying to say it's worse for trans women. There's different layers for cis women. And it's like, I'm 6'2", so I try to make myself small to just kind of blend in. Whereas I'm sure small cis women are worried about being so small,
right.
you know? And so it's like, you just can't fucking win. You're too tall, hunch. You're too small, wear heels. So, you know, it's like, but men, come as you are. Factory settings are good.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like Hedwig and the Angry Inch. If I don't laugh, I'm crying.
Yeah,
it's just it's just, and it doesn't, well, it was changing, and then it changed back.
Here's one thing standing out in my brain. When you were playing Ilana Wexler, and she goes with her mom, Bobby, underground purse shopping, right? Yeah. And then she hears from Abby that she's going to peg the guy she's seeing. And then you did a headstand, or you did a handstand to example your excitement.
Yeah.
In that moment, it was almost like, because I am so used to feeling too much, too over the top. And then Ilana Wexler became this character that was pointedly over the top, and everyone loved her for it. And it almost opened an archetype up for me to be, where I stopped feeling so self-conscious about the ways in which I express myself, you know? And nowadays I feel like a lot of that shit is what people know me for. And literally, since I met you, I've been thinking about that. I wanted to do the handstand when I came down to meet you after O'Mary, but then I saw my friends and I was hugging them and I forgot. But
that is so funny. Thank you so much, Jinkx. That means the world to me. Thank you.
Well, sisters are doing it for ourselves, you know?
That's right. So Jinkx, I could talk to you for hours and hours, and I hope we do. I really love you as a public persona and performer, but it's my privilege to get to know and love you interpersonally. Thank you so much for joining us here at It's Open.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jinkx Monsoon, for being my guest and now my friend. Okay? No choices. There's no choice after this. We're friends. I'm texting you all the time. Anyway, okay. So thanks to Jinkx Monsoon, thanks to Robbie, PR Witch, who really made it all happen, and thanks to my creative team who made this show happen. I certainly couldn't do it alone. It takes a whole village. I want to thank my creative producers, Annika Carlson, David Rooklin, Kelsie Kiley, Glennis Meagher, and Madeline Kim. I want to thank our editor, Tovah Leibowitz. I want to thank the creative artists who made this episode sound and look so good. Rachel Suffian on sound, Louise Nessralla on cameras, and Kevin Deming who set these lights. Gorgeous, bitch. I want to thank Ramo Ventura for the incredible graphics and the intro musical sting, and the band Don Her for this outro music. Subscribe. Actually, subscribe first and then like and comment. But really subscribe. Join this community. It's something new, and it's still open for what it is, and I want you to be a part of whatever it becomes. Bye.